Okay. All righty, we will get started. Thank you everybody for coming out into attendance tonight. We are joined by several city staff members and city council members who can answer any questions after the presentation related to the City of Boerne bond election. I would also like to just point out for anybody joining us this evening or watching this recording later that this presentation is simply for informational purposes only. Neither city staff nor the City of Boerne will advocate for or against any bond election in accordance with state law. So again, this is simply informational material to provide you all with what you need to know regarding the bond election. And while I have you all here, I do want to start off a little bit with an updated timeline from TxDOT, something that we all drive every day or most days here in the City of Boerne on I-10. And the nuts and bolts of this update is that by Christmas time, we should be driving on both new bridges at Highway 46 and on South Main Street. Currently, those are in the final phases of their construction, and we should be able to drive on them. As well as later this month, the backage road at School Street, right there in front of the ExxonMobil and the Taco Bell. You can come on in. Will also be open for traffic by the end of this month for folks to be able to fully utilize that road as well. And also, I want to point a little bit on our budget priorities of the last couple of years. These are some of the ways that also indicate what was included in our shaping of the bond election. So when we set our budget priorities here at the City of Boerne, we look at public safety, we look at mobility and infrastructure. And when we do these things, we really want to make sure that we do them at a high level. And we know our residents expect excellence and a good product that we deliver for them. So we want to make sure we do things and we do them very well. So this year alone, we will be adding 3 new firefighter positions within our Boerne Fire Department as our community continues to grow. We know that the need for that fire service is also continuing to grow, especially as we continue with our ongoing drought. We are also adding we have added 2 new police officers to our school resource program, which means that every campus within BISD this year now has a dedicated school resource officer available on campus. We also have 2 new positions in our planning department. And one of the issues that we've experienced over the years as our community continues to grow is not just necessarily new homes that are coming, but also residents who have lived here for a while. Maybe they want to add a pool or they're looking to change out their fence. As they start doing some of these renovations, they've been entering into our development process here at the city, and we've really streamlined a lot of that. So we've added some new people to help expedite that process to make it more efficient, but we're also moving to a completely online development services process. So that way, at any time of day, you can actually upload your files, you can check the status of a permit, you can pay online, all of those things as opposed to just having to come here to City Hall from 8 to 5. We've also increased our funding for road surfacing. We've utilized new road surface options, and we've continued our sidewalk expansion across the City of Boerne, specifically focusing on roads, city-maintained roads that have gaps in the sidewalk or need new sidewalks with them. This year alone, this newly adopted budget, 14% of that budget is actually tied toward capital improvement projects, things like our streets and other issues like that that are really the nuts and bolts of what city government does here at the local level. We also leverage our resources, and we partner with other community partners, if you will, for needed projects here within the City of Boerne. And the 2 that I really want to highlight here on the screen, the AMPO project and our ARPA projects, these combined are more than $15 million of projects, road improvements that are going to come to multiple areas across the City of Boerne in the coming years. This is completely separate of the bond election that we'll get into in just a minute. So the AMPO project along Old San Antonio, Cascade Caverns, and Scenic Loop, so that area in front of the 2 schools down there, the theater, all the way around to the Ford dealership and around, all of that will be expanded. New lanes will be created, bike lanes, sidewalks, drainage improvements are going to be included in all of this, and that's a $10 million plus project where we applied for a grant from the Alamo Area Mobility Planning Organization, and we were selected. We were the only project in Kendall County selected for funding, and that will cover, that grant alone will cover 70% of the construction costs. And then we're also partnering with Kendall County. We decided to use our ARPA funds for some drainage mobility improvements, water improvements, and 3 key areas across the city of Boerne. The first will be a new bridge at Menger Creek along Old San Antonio Road, right there by the Herf Road intersection. Currently a low water crossing that oftentimes floods during periods of heavy rain, and that really limits access for our public safety and first responders during times of heavy rain. And then also along Adler Road, the 2 low spots that currently exist at No Name Creek and Curry Creek, those drainage areas will be improved and elevated, so that way, again, during times of heavy rain, those roads will remain open, especially for our sheriff's department. They're located right there, and currently when that road closes, they have to go all the way down Plant, over to Blanco, and then out and around, so they'll be able to continue to go east and west with no issues. And that's also a very popular kind of bypass route for folks that don't want to necessarily cut through town, especially during parades or anything like that. Adler Road is heavily utilized. So let's get into the quality of life bond election. And again, we're going to talk a little bit about the bond prioritization process, the tax-supported debt breakdown, what is on Prop A and Prop B, and key voting and election dates. So the bond program workshop schedule that occurred earlier this year, there were multiple public workshops where City Council held open dialogue with city staff and members of the community to come in here and engage on areas that we were focusing on. And it focused on parks and open space, facilities, streets, and sidewalks. Those were kind of the 3 buckets, if you will, of needs that we really wanted to focus on, that council wanted to focus on with this bond election. And there were also 2 different prioritization projects where council publicly went back and forth on how big of a bond election do we need to have? What is the right size for the city of Boerne right now for 2022? And then on August 16th, they called the bond election. And one of the key ways that they utilized a lot of their decision-making was our first ever citizen survey, which was conducted last year. And these were some of the direct comments from the more than 1,000 residents of the city of Boerne who participated in that process. Roads and bridges are not keeping up with the influx of traffic and people. We need dedicated pickleball courts. A dog park within the city limits would be great. Be more proactive in planning of roads and traffic. These, again, are direct quotes from residents to the city of Boerne about things that they would like to see us focus on. And then when we start looking at the assumptions for tax-supported debt calculations, the city works diligently every year to balance our property tax rates with the needs of other services such as police, fire, and transportation. So some of these projects that are included, you just can't get to in a single budget year, and that's why City Council voted and called for a bond election. But here are some of the calculations. So we anticipate a stable tax rate over the 20-year term of the debt that would be issued. Expected increase in valuations are in line with our current tax roll information, and that's based on 6% growth in assessed taxable value annually moving forward. And just like you at home, we've seen the interest rates rise, so we've also increased our interest rate to mirror that of market rates. So there's far fewer surprises. The last thing we want to do is call a bond election and say something will cost X amount of money, and in a few years it costs so much more. So we've built into those our calculations of what we think the market will do. And so here's a little bit on the 2 propositions. We have Adler Road and streets and mobility improvements, as well as Northside community and other parks improvements. And if you look over to the left, there's a 5.5-cent potential property tax rate increase, or about $17 a month for the average Boerne homeowner. And I really want to focus on the potential property tax rate increase. And why we're doing that is, so the last time the city of Boerne called a bond election in 2007, that called for a 6-cent tax rate increase potential. But because of strategic budgeting by past city councils, as well as just, again, the increase in our property valuations, we ended up utilizing about 2 cents of that 6 cents needed to fund the entire projects that were approved by voters to go and build and complete. And all of those projects were completed on time and within budget. So Prop A focuses on streets and mobility. Again, priority was given to Adler Road, West Blanco Road, adjacent to Main Plaza, Kronkowski Street, North Shooting Club Road, and Parkway Drive. And the bulk of that money goes towards Adler Road. It's about $14 million. And it's a pavement reconstruction, and I also want to point out all of these are pavement reconstructions. This is not just a new slap of pavement over the existing road. We're taking it all the way down to the studs and rebuilding from the ground up. It will also add a two-way left center turn lane. So currently Adler Road is 2 lanes. It'll go to 3 lanes, my apologies. There will be drainage improvements. Culverts are also part of the project, as I mentioned earlier. And I also want to focus on this number, the current PCI, the Pavement Condition Index. It's a 22 out of 100. So just like at school, we got graded on our homework and on our assignments, and 100 was great and a 0 was not so great. Currently, Adler Road has a 22 on our Pavement Condition Index, and was also one of the roads directly called out in our citizens survey. And here are where the other street improvements are located. Again, they're kind of peppered all throughout the city of Boerne. You have Shooting Club Road on the north side of town, West Blanco and Kronkosky a little closer to downtown, and then on the southern end of Boerne, you have Parkway Drive. And those PCIs are also very low. Kronkosky has a PCI of 5. Blanco Road has a PCI of 18. Shooting Club Road is a 19, and Parkway Drive is a 20. There are also some traffic signal and intersection improvements included in this. So signal improvements along Blanco Road at both Main Street and Esser Road intersections. Those are currently some of our oldest interchanges and the lights that we have within the city of Boerne. So being able to update those and upgrade them to, again, better move traffic. We'll keep it simple. It's meant to move traffic safely and efficiently, as well as some intersection improvements along Johns Road at School Street and Main Street, as well as Adler Road and Esser Road. They are not too far from Boerne High School. Looking over at Prop B, this is $13 million, the bulk of which will go to Northside Community Park, but also split with Northrop Park, Boerne City Park, and Northside Neighborhood Park. And here is kind of a rendering of Northside Community Park. And some of this stuff might move around a bit, but we really wanted to give a layout of all the things that will actually be included in this park. And I will just list them because it's quite a bit. An all abilities playscape, additional flexible open space, a challenge course, a community room, covered pickleball courts, basketball pavilions, dog park, expanded skate park, multi-use soccer and football fields with lights, a splash pad, stormwater features, and a walking trail. And all of these recommendations come directly from our 2017 Parks Master Plan, where we met again with community residents and we said, what do you want to see in the future of Boerne Parks? And these were some of the highest rated priority items on that document for this 35 acres of land. And it's also worth noting that we've owned this land for about 15 years. This was purchased with the last bond election in 2007, and since then we've added the small skate park there, the public restrooms, and the playscape. Other than that, that property has remained undeveloped and underutilized for the past 15 years. Other park improvements include Northrop and City Park, and those are field and lighting improvements at both of those parks, as well as you can kind of see this green line here, some trails connecting the two areas of Northrop Park from kind of the basketball pavilion down, as well as to our fields that a lot of folks use. And then at Northside Neighborhood Park, if you've ever been back there along Curry Trail or behind the Parks building, you kind of see that flat open space where we kind of just mow the grass occasionally, but there's really no definition to it. We would actually go and put some of the amenities that bring some definition, maybe some walking trails to connect from the trail over to that piece of land. There could also be some picnic areas and some workout facilities along that trail. So again, we really want to define that space, and it'll also fit within the neighborhood that it's going to be surrounded by. We also have some election and voting dates for folks here. So October 11th, yesterday, was the last day to register to vote. So hopefully you've all registered. Early voting is October 24th through November the 4th, and you can do that at the Kendall County Annex, which is the elections office across from Boerne High School. Election day is November the 8th, and you will be able to vote here at City Hall if you want to come in person. Our training room right across the hall will be an election site. And most importantly, who can actually vote on Prop A and Prop B? It is all eligible and registered City of Boerne voters here within the City of Boerne. And if y'all want to scan this QR code, I've also got some more information that y'all can take with you.